This is a video for how I created these functional, affordable, and attractive laser cut lights that I made for my home. Let's check out how I did it. I live in Boulder, Colorado in a pretty small house, and when I moved in there were these giant ball lights reminiscent of college dorm rooms. They were old and torn and just pretty ugly, and my wife and I wanted an upgrade that we could design ourselves. We already had the cables and bulbs from the ball lights, and buying fixtures can get pricey. My idea was to create a 6-sided box light patterned and with paper on the inside to diffuse the light. Many laser cut lights let the full bulb light shine through the patterns and they make funky shadows on the walls. Yeah, we didn't want that. We wanted to make 3 of these fixtures. Here are the steps that I took to create these lights. I went on to MakerCase to build the shape. I went on to Google to find a pattern. Photoshop was used to edit the pattern, Illustrator to vectorize and merge patterns to the panels, laser cutting at a local makerspace Building 61, and then I put it all together. The supplies I used were the laser cut panels, light bulbs, Borden and Riley Sunglow paper, blue painter's tape, glue, and hot glue sticks. Let's check out some of the steps I used to make these lights. First, I went on to MakerCase to design the shape of my fixtures. In MakerCase, you can specify the shape and the size of your fixture. When you're finished, it will export all the sides and the tops for you. In MakerCase, I specified finger joints so they could easily fit together. I also created another file with flat edges, and I'll explain in a bit why. Then I downloaded the files in .svg. Then I went on to Google and searched for a pattern that I liked. I downloaded the image and brought it into Photoshop to increase the contrast and black lines so that vectorizing the pattern in Illustrator later went smoothly. I brought the pattern files into Illustrator, did an image trace of the lines to turn them into vector lines. Vector lines allow the laser cutter to follow these lines. Then, still in Illustrator, I brought my panel shapes in with both finger joints and flat edges. I got rid of all the unnecessary images so I could just copy and paste the panels I needed, which were a top, bottom, and sides. I needed to make sure that my pattern fit within my panel, so I just put the flat edge in to make a boundary that my pattern fit in. I used the Shape Builder tool to make the pattern fit within the boundary. Select all the shapes, and then draw over the shapes you want to stitch it together. It takes a bit of time, but when you are done, you can ditch the leftover stuff and have everything woven into one shape. The top was going to have to carry a bit more weight, so I added solid bands to reinforce it. I also needed to be able to string a bulb through a hole on the top. I didn't measure this, and later on I had to widen the hole at home. I formatted the shape files onto sheets that were sized at 24 inches by 18 inches and 18 inches by 12 inches, and then made all the lines 0.02 inches, which helps the laser cutter know that it needs to cut through the entire piece of wood. Then COVID hit, and everything closed down, so I waited many months until my local makerspace in Boulder Building 61 at the library created a system where I could send my files to be cut, and then I could pick them up later. It was awesome. I gathered my supplies to put them together. I cut the paper out by tracing along the edges of the panels. Then I glued the paper onto just the bottom panel. I put the shapes together piece by piece using blue tape to hold them together. I made sure the top piece was taped well so I could turn it onto its sides and glue the rest of the paper in. I did not glue a piece of paper on the top. I hot glued all the side edges. To be able to get inside the fixture and change the light bulb, I tried a few ideas and they didn't work. So I cut out a panel on the top where my hand could fit through, strung the light through, and then I hot glued the bottom on. I realized that if the fixture wasn't all hot glued together, then the paper would become very taut and unbuckle any edges that weren't glued. In the end, they looked great. Definitely an upgrade and provide very nice dappled light. Big thanks to the folks at Building 61 for their instruction, resources, and providing services in creative ways during COVID. You can find their website and my website in the links below.